I want to start by inviting in our Divine Heavenly Father and our spirit guides and our ascended masters and teachers in spirit of truth and compassion. Please come forth and enter this space for us as we have our Tuesday teaching on Dante's Paradise. If my ego starts to get away, be like, you hush that up. Let's just have spirit of truth and compassion. Let's have love and understanding in this live today. And I thank you all for your help and assistance in this. Let's do God's will. Let's do it. Doing it, man.
Just do it.
Perfect. So today we are talking about Dante's Paradise, which is the third poem of the Divine Comedy by the 13th century Italian poet Dante Alighieri. And our guide is not Virgil. Virgil stayed in purgatory. He was not ready to ascend into the realms of heaven. So Beatrice is our guide in paradise, and today's Beatrice is Markus. Markus is today's Beatrice. So let's welcome Markus.
This is actually Loki. I'm going to introduce Markus.
Hi, Loki.
So the one, the only, and he is better than me. He's better than me. Loba but beautiful Markus. I almost had it before he came in there.
Yeah. Well,
So you can do all that again for me. Happy now, since you're not happy no more.
today's Virgil is Beatrice. It's Markus. Yeah. And you will radiate more and more of each sphere that we ascend to reach the, what was it called? Oh man, it had a name and I liked it. And I thought that sounds like Latin. The Primimobile, or the Empyrean, that's what it is. It's the Empyrean, the final level where God is and everything is blissful.
That is why I'm on a hammock. It's all blissful.
Freaking Empyrean. All right. All right.
That's just what we called it, but okay.
So again, Dante is a living being, and he has ascended through the realms of hell with Virgil into the realm of purgatory. And now he is ascending into the realms of heaven. And this doesn't have punishment within it. This is just like levels of reward. And there's no sin here. So they talk about how there's no like feeling shame or guilt for what you did or didn't accomplish as a living being. And as Dante ascends, the light and beauty is always overwhelming to him, that it takes him a while to be able to digest it as a human being because it is so much bigger. And it sounds like this whole thing, Spirit's trying to just make it something he could understand. So these 9 levels are just a way for Dante to understand what's going on in heaven so he can come back and tell everybody what he has seen. So I think that's a pretty good little whoop. That's what this is.
I would say that, and also this is one of the best spiritual teachings, I believe. This teaches everything. This is like a spirit guide. If you're trying to learn your spiritual ascent, this is a perfect start place right here to start, because Beatrice poses as Jesus, taking him and, not Virgil, Dante. Yeah, not the Virgil, but taking Dante around and leading him to the right, like the divine would take you. And I feel as well, this story is representing all the prophets that would be that the great divine gives humans to speak on his behalf. So I feel this is very appropriate because that's what we do. We speak on the great divine's assistance. When I say the great divine, I'm accepting all. There's a he and she, there's so many parts of the divine. So when I say divine, I am not saying there's no God. I'm saying there is, but there's so much more than what you see in the depths and the light. And as we get further into this, each paradise, you're going to see the light And we can explain some of them. I thought we could explain some of the mediumship things that we go through, because I thought it'd be absolutely perfect. But I also like to add, you got to remember the prophets of the day. That's what they did. They spoke of the great divine through the great divine. And this is your journey through it, like an inside look. And I love that we can make this present day and bring it to people and just listen to it. And it's really good to like list, like read, like if you have the book itself, like read it a little bit at a time and meditate on it. And what do you get out of it? Like, what's your paradise? Because everybody's paradise is so different. And where do you want to achieve? Because everybody there accepts wherever they go, because that is where, you know, God knows more and he will put you where it needs to be. So I just got to have the hammock.
Absolutely. And I have this guy to help us along. So this is a nesting doll, and it would have made more sense as we're going through the layers of hell. But I'm going to use it for this one, just so you understand what we're talking about. We talk about onion layers and peeling layers off. So this is going to be our illustration through paradise of losing our layers. So we understand, we have a little bit more of an idea what we're talking about. I like visuals. I'm just a very visual, so I'm going to bring that visual
Right.
stuff.
And then also as we go through it, I would like to bring, because besides me talking today, I'm going to have Rashik, and he's going to, because he's from Atlantis and he's Loki's highest self, the version of Atlantis. But I would like for each of the deities to speak on what they felt paradise is. So I'll just we'll bring them each in just briefly, even Cosmo. I know that would seem, but I wanted to get everybody's perspective on paradise.
I think
I would like to hear his, be kind of funny, but.
Yeah, right. We all want to hear what he's got to say. He's great.
Yeah, he is.
All right, so let's start with the first sphere of heaven. It's the moon. So, and Dante has this set up the way that they understood our sky to be. So they thought like Earth was in the middle. So everything's a little messed up, but still, it's very interesting that their spheres are our earthly bodies, their planetary systems. Just bear with me. So first sphere is the moon. And it says the souls here were unable to fulfill their vows or promises to God. That any person who averted their vow and has gone astray is floating on that layer. And as they are on this layer, Beatrice's eyes are more radiant and her smile is more beautiful than it was before. So Dante's always like taken aback at the beauty of Beatrice on every level. And I think that that's a beautiful little thing. And Beatrice explains that while the souls are being punished there, it's not really a punishment, but it kind of is, that they are also living in the Empyrean layer with God in complete bliss. So let's talk about that. So is there really like a layer that heavenly soul is at, as well as being in pure bliss with God? So, wow.
Well, that's kind of what I am. I'm not in any of the levels.
Right.
I mean, I'm in bliss, but I'm higher up. I'm higher up. But you can choose, because if you go all the way to where he is, you're absorbed in the light. You become the light, which is beautiful. If that is your choosing to be part of the divine, that is your choice. It's always a choice. But some, they decide to a level. And now that is like the purgatory level, except it's not going to be harsh lessons. It's you accept it. You're not fighting it. And the light is still beautiful and you're still learning, but you're still in contact with God. You're still in that contact. So there is levels like that. I wouldn't be describing to that level, the 9, but there are like, I would say 4 or 5 levels. There is. And that, but you choose that. You know, if you put there or you choose it, but any time you want to go and absorb into the light, you may. It's a very beautiful place. And no, you don't sit on clouds, and no, you don't sit there and sing harps. And usually when you are up there, you are learning still, you're teaching, you're learning, you have incarnated from here. You are a high value teacher now. And your level of expertise is much needed. Like in your world today, the new souls that are coming in today are learning from the teachers of old that have been here and teaching these new souls that are here incarnating right now. That's why they're frustrated. That's why you got a lot of young kids that are frustrated, because they just came from all this teaching and none of this makes sense. This is a very hard, so this is like Harvard. But I thought this is interesting in that as well. So I wanted to bring that up. So new souls seem to be very confused, because they just learn, they want to bring everything here. But it's a challenge, as it is in anything. But but just think of that. You are a prize teacher after this in the levels of heaven. So your level of teaching goes up.
Wow. Beatrice also says that a vow is a promise offered to men or God to render their free will as a gift, and that it shouldn't be broken. There's a lot of free will being spoken of through all of this, and I think that's important, that is a gift. We choose. We should never have, God hasn't given us laws and restrictions on what we are allowed to do. We have free will. And it also seems as if we are our judge on the other side. Through all of this, it seems like we kind of punish ourselves for what we've done. We are our judge. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. You'll see certain, like how somebody has passed. And I had an interesting question was posed over here. And the young lady had asked, she said, if you pass, do you automatically go in the light? And I thought this is automatic, great to put here, because that was the first time I've actually heard that question with an easy answer. So everybody knows about, and I know everybody's scared. Will I pass? Will I go to the light? Will I wander around like a ghost? What's going to happen? Well, I can reassure you, unlike all these ghost shows that you watch and these whatever, you have free will. It is your choice. And as free will, you can choose to go to the light. You can choose to stay here a little bit longer, and look, he will always keep you protected. The divine does not leave you. Your guide will not leave you. Even in spirit, your guide will not leave you. Your guides are here until you go to the light. You are protected the whole time. You got free will to decide all that. He's not deciding your fate. Well, once you go, you must go to the light. It's your choice. And you choose where you feel you've learned. You go through your lessons and you go, I think I've learned here, but I think I might need a little bit more here, but you don't want to incarnate back. You go, but you can go there. It's not you have to take these tests, and it's not that. You know your soul, when you're there, you're very honest, you're very truthful, and you look at your life very honest and truthful. And you see all the mistakes that you made, and there's an area you can go. It's like a confession to the great divine, because you want your forgiveness, like Dante did, before he went in the purgatory to get the hell off. Well, that's what you do as a human. It's like a baptism in sorts. So everybody goes to the light. I don't care how you died. I don't care who you are. You will go to the light, but in your choice and your time. But the divine will not forget about you. That light will follow you until you're ready to go. So that's free will. So you still got free will there. It's a gift he gave you because Atlanteans didn't have free will. They did not have it. And you see what it did to Loki. So
Right.
he refused to not do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take a layer off. So we're going to send that layer. Oh my God. That just terrified everybody. My poor dog looks terrified. That was freaking loud.
That was loud.
Yeah.
I thought that was her barking. I'm like, what?
It was the squeaky wood.
The squeaky wood
makes the noise. As the old adage says. So that we're a little smaller. We shrunk, right? Well, let's see that. We shrunk. What? No, there was somebody in there. That's wild.
Yeah. The first time she showed us that, I was so amazed at that. And little things like that amaze deities.
Me too. So we're going to take this guy, who is us, and we're going to take him through the sphere 2, which is the sphere of Mercury. The ambitious souls that were right and just, but they were ambitious. They put their glory in front of the glory of God. And again, the sun is even brighter and everything is brighter and more. Beatrice is more beautiful again. And Dante asks, if Jesus was supposed to come here and die for humanity's sins, how were the murderers of Jesus justified of punishment? And Beatrice told him that the people who wanted Jesus to die were evil in spite of Jesus's bigger purpose. And that the whole meaning of Calvary was so humanity can take part in their own salvation. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about this sphere and let's talk about Jesus.
Well, I would like, instead of me talking, I would like to bring Locaeus, because we all know him, who he was, so the favorite. So I felt appropriate, we're going to talk about Jesus. I want to make it right with Jesus, the great divine. So we'll bring Locaeus, and then on some levels I'm going to bring Rashik out as well. But for this one, if it's okay, I like to bring Locaeus.
He can be Beatrice.
Make a pretty Beatrice.
Beautiful Beatrice on level 2. Look at you.
Oh, I feel beautiful.
Pretty Beatrice.
I get to be a Beatrice too. Well, when you're talking about Jesus, when he walked down, and he was to show, that through hatred, did you see him fight? Did you see him, when he got angry, it was for the rightful reasons, because the temple, his father's place was being disrespected. So the anger was showed to show the humans, everything he did when he was here was a lesson. Everything he did, his whole life was a lesson. He knew it from the time he was born to the time he left. He knew it was all planned. He knew his whole life was going to be an example for the future, for us to live. Everything he did, when he would go meditate and pray, he would often go and pray by himself because he couldn't handle the stress. Well, that's what he was teaching us. When it gets too much, go to your mountain, wherever that may be. But then let's say when you're like a busy mom, dad, parent, or whoever you are in society, but you're busy, got 5 minutes. You got to remember, Jesus was sought after. He'd go hide, but they'd find him. But he would go down graciously. It wasn't like he would graciously go, but he'd put himself aside for them, which is what we need to do sometimes. When it's all, sometimes it's all about us. You're not benefiting anything. I see, unfortunately, the world is all about us, and it's not. It's the bigger picture is we're all one. God is one. We're all one. So when you are saying something, you're actually saying something about yourself, and people don't understand that. Well, but you know what? There's a difference. You are allowed to speak your mind. And that's what Jesus did. He spoke his mind. You're allowed to speak your mind on things that mean something to you, to change it. But when he was here, that's what he did. He wanted to, and when the people that were against him, it was to show everybody there's always going to be somebody against you. There's always going to be somebody against you. And maybe you get killed. Maybe you're going to be martyred for what you believe, but are you willing to die for your beliefs? And he was. I mean, his was planned to die, but the lesson was that. And he was beat brutally and everything. And people go, well, why? Well, there's more to that. But it's just basically to show that humankind can be vicious or support you either way. And that's what Jesus was trying to teach. And teach your word regardless. He taught more by love than trying to show hate. Did he ever go to a Pharisee and just say and get into a fight with him, get to a fist fight? When he's walking down to the cross, like walking off, did he ever fight anybody coming at him, spitting at him, breaking his ribs? No, he did. It's not because he was being weak. He was trying to show, why are you going to fight and show anger? Because anger doesn't get you anywhere. So he wasn't going to show that. So I think level is important. That's what Jesus brought. So I think that's what that's trying to teach, is don't put yourself above God. God is above you always in anything you do in life. So if you do anything, you take control, there's going to be a level where you can't go anymore. You got to go to God. And he makes it so for a good reason. It's to teach you. It's all to teach you back to love. Jesus' whole life is about love and leading back to love. And that's exactly what he did when he was here.
Absolutely. And I think that's just great, because that's talking about, that's what's at that level is people that didn't submit to God's will. And Jesus did.
Mm-hmm.
He completely submit to God's will.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I don't. I follow spirit guidance and I do that stuff, but my ego is still there doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really learning, especially through all this, learning the importance of you gotta shut it up.
Well, you can also make your ego your best friend too. Your ego don't have to be your enemy. What it is, you're supposed to tame your ego. Your ego's there to help you. You got to think that's also a spark from the divine, the ego, and that's there to guide you. But it's up to you what voice you want to listen to. I mean, it's going to tell you about your whole day, but it's trying to remind you what you did when you don't remember. But if you hear news and you say, you say, well, I think that's crap. Well, your ego is going to remind you what you said. It's just like a record player. It can be your enemy, or so make it your friend. Just teach it what to say, like a child. This ego is your child. Teach it what you want to hear from it. And if your ego starts getting out of control, so what are you thinking? What are you watching? What are you reading? What is around you that is provoking this part of you? Because somewhere along the line, you've said something to bring it back, because it remembers everything. Even if you don't, it does. So your ego can be your best friend. You just got to work with your ego. So you shouldn't make your ego your enemy. You should just work with it. It's like a child. You can quiet it down, like quieting the monkey mind. You can quiet it.
Okay.
Maybe.
So we're taking another layer off as we enter sphere 3. Oh man. Oh, and he was quiet. Thank God he was quiet. Oh, and look at how cute this little guy is, little booger. So this little booger is going to go into sphere 3 of Venus. How cute? They get cuter, don't they?
I want one of those.
I'll send you the link on Amazon. I wanted nesting dolls, and they were all like real pretty. And I saw these, and I was like, oh, they're perfect. They're little skeletons.
Yeah, I want to make Michelle get some. I like those.
Yeah, I do too. So I'll send you the link. So we're at the sphere of Venus, and this is of the lovers and the souls who did good things in life, but still chased earthly desires are here. And the soul of Charles Martel tells Dante the world needs an assortment of bad people along with the good ones to maintain balance, and that nature and nurture are the guiding forces of a person's attributes. And they said that the sun represents God's love, and the souls on this level were meant to be preachers, but chased the roles of kings. We got a lot of that. And this is when they talk about how no negativity exists. There's no guilt, there's no shame, since there's no sin. That sin, so there's no regrets for what they did or didn't do, because negativity doesn't exist in heaven. And I thought that was beautiful. So let's talk about this, the sphere of Venus, the lovers.
Well, this is Rashik, and I feel this is kind of where I need to be. It kind of feels appropriate where I need to be. I like that. It's confusing to watch, but I like.
Magic.
I feel this is perfect for what I did. I was supposed to be defender of Atlantis, but instead I went after lust. I followed lust. And you say Atlantis, you did. It was a perfect, beautiful paradise. Why? I did some magic and corrupted, and I ruined some lives as I did this, but I was lustful. I mean, I was supposed to be a teacher, and I was a great teacher until I was belittled in the end, but I deserved what I got. If you do something and you want to be a king, but you do everything you feel is in your control, and you do not look at the great divine. I was raised as a child to follow the great divine, the great God and goddess. And we pray for many hours a day, Atlantis, many hours. It was beautiful. It's still, I didn't kick in my head that this is not right. Certain things that I did was not right. My thoughts, I would think it was terrible. Like, why am I thinking this? Because it's paradise. This is not, I think it's important to understand your thoughts are not your enemies. You have to address your thoughts. I never addressed my thoughts because because we're in paradise, and you're told from an early age, there is no evil, there is no this, and there's no that. But there is, because the creatures that were beyond paradise, Atlantis, were telling me about the things that were actually going on in your realm. And this, what I was defending was that over here. So I didn't understand. I understood their thoughts. I could read their thoughts. It is weird, like a demon thinker hunter. Because to hunt, you have to think like them and know them. So that's why Loki makes sense now, because he was created. It's a long story about Loki. But I understood the thoughts of that. But I liked their thoughts. It was weird. I liked the thoughts. But I was still a heavenly divine being. And I was supposed to be like a teacher. But I wanted to be king. My dad died. Of course, I want to be the head. And I was not going to be, because I wasn't the oldest. And I was going to defy everybody to do what I wanted to do. But I was brought down harshly through this, my own thing. So that realm is to teach you, you will be brought down harshly. I used to be very magical. I used to be my words would come out, it would flow. And as I went down, my skills went to somebody else because he said, you did not serve a purpose with it. All the magic that I had went to Loki because I made negotiations that wasn't fair to him. So that was taken from me. So your great divine will bring you down and humble you. I've been very humbled. And a paradise. I've been very humbled. So I would suggest to people, your thoughts aren't evil, no matter where you're at. Just research your thoughts, meditate on your thoughts, talk to people. And if you don't understand, I had nobody to talk to. That's not an excuse. I really didn't have nobody. I had the creatures, but you got to remember, sometimes they misinformed me. And that's okay. They misinformed me and I made the choice to listen. But I had the bigger purpose. I could have been teaching them the divine, which would have been the greatest gift to do. And I chose not to do that. But Locaeus went and did that. He went and did what I was supposed to do. And I see where he's gone. See, I could have been, so he's not my son. He is Loki's son. But that's what it is. If you got a purpose, pursue your purpose. Or they'll be given to somebody that will pursue that purpose. And if you feel that you can do things that God, and you got lost in your heart and you're following, you will come down. You're going to come tumbling down. You will be humbled. The divine will humble you in front of everybody. He don't humble just you. He will humble you in front of a lot of people to bring it to a point to make sure you listened. And if you're not humbled here, he will humble you there. He will humble you. And I've been humbled in both places. So that is what my suggestion on this one would be.
I love that. And I love that when Michelle and I started doing this stuff, there would be days that they'd want me to do things. You need to start a Facebook thing. You need to start a YouTube thing. You need to start writing a book. And they'd say, if you don't start something soon, it's going to somebody else. If you don't start it soon, it's going to somebody else. And that's been very consistent. So I like that you say that. So you guys, if you hear your guides and they're putting something in your brain, if they're putting a seed in you to do something and it's a good thing, go do that thing. Because again, it will go to somebody else that's willing to listen, and you could be missing on a big blessing for you and your family.
Absolutely. And Locaeus became an archangel, and you wonder where I could have gone had I just followed the path that I should have, but I chose a different path, but I didn't want to listen to the great divine. So that should be a heeding warning. And I'm from Atlantis. So if I'm from Atlantis, that doesn't mean that the rules change anywhere. And we have free will. This is the Atlantis with free will. But we have a very stern religious, there is no, but the point is, don't take it upon yourself. Don't try to strive for the power and lust. It's in the money. It's not. I ended up having nothing at the end. So that's just, I would prefer humans not have to go through that humbling lesson.
Absolutely. So the next is the sphere of the sun. And now we're just getting into like the reward levels of heaven. So this is our guy. So he's being stripped of a layer. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Oh, this little guy's coming out, and he's going to be our little Dante as we go through the sphere of the sun, which contains the wife. And dude, that's freaking cute. You guys,
Like that.
I like it.
I like that. It looks like one of the creatures that was around Atlantis, and they'd be around it. Looked like some of the creatures.
This has the souls who sought to educate hearts and the minds of others. Dante sees lights everywhere, and flares of lights become souls who talk to Dante. And they all came together and started singing a beautiful song. And it said the saints did not get something. They did not get something in life. So the figures. And this has, that's right. So in this layer, it had saints and leaders of the churches that both were preaching for the truth of God, but their ideas were completely different. But now they're on the same level of heaven and they're working in fellowship. So Dante thought this was a big deal. He didn't, and that is like, that would be like Biden and Trump. Let's just say it. I don't want to get into politics, but that's kind of what we're talking about here. So it'd be like Biden and Trump are friends and working together in heaven is what this analogy is like. And here there's the saints like Saint Thomas and King Solomon, and they discuss Saint Francis of Assisi and how he was just like a burning love and how good of an example he was of God. And symbolically, the sun is believed to be a mighty star illuminating earth and outer space, and those in this sphere shed light intellectually. So let's talk about this layer, the sphere of the sun that contains the wise.
And this Markus, and I'm back. Beatrice is back. This one's a very interesting one because, as again, teachers, which are like you and your sister, we are teachers, and we teach from the divine. I've been here, Sri Krishna. I have channeled many great people, and they have spread my word, as I have said, as you girls will take my word, and teachers of the great divine. And all he's doing on this level is taking these preachers that they kind of missed the mark. They just missed it a little bit. They had the right heart in line to teach. Their heart was in it, but the information might have, they might not have been compassionate in some area over here or whatever, because he would often, when after it was Sri Krishna, I thought I did my ego. I thought I did, and he said, no, he told me my downfalls. He said where I would, but he would tell me where my ego. And there's a certain, I will not say the name, but a teacher out there that corrected my words. And he is no longer here, but he corrected my Ram Das, I would just go ahead and say. And he said my words as my words. He understood my words, he understood, and he got much training to learn it. But you have to learn the information that's easier for me to just channel and put the information out. And he took what I had and he corrected what I had taught. And I love that. So that's what that level was. It also as well humbles you. When you think you've done that, and yes, even Ram Dass, he's there and he's learning, but I'm sure he's going to perfect back. He did really good. He said, and so that's what it does. It just takes these people to, when they come back, they're saying the correct words. You're not, the parishioners aren't your parishioners, they are God's parishioners. And it's just kind of correcting here and there, but they're working together, but they're very happy and very humble to work for the divine. You are very happy that you're here in this level. It means you're a teacher. That means that they think more of you and they really want this, and they don't yell. It's very calm atmosphere. And sometimes they learn from you. And it's wonderful. It's like a learning experience for everybody there. It's learning and channeling. When it's going to be a channeling, like you're going to be a teacher, but you're going to channel, they love that. And there's more involved because it's all worked on before you come here. You got to prepare yourself before channeling here even. So there's a certain time, it's prepared. You're as a teacher prepared, and everybody's prepared. So, but that's what they do. So when they come back down here, regardless of what they do here to teach, you will be prepared. And this time you get it. Like sometimes you get some great preachers and you just are fantastic. Sometimes you just wish they'd kind of catch the mark a little bit. Well, the ones that you catch your heart, like Joyce Meyer, well, she's been beautiful. She's caught your heart because she's taught over and over and over and over. So, and I like Joel Osteen as well. He's very happy, but as well, his message, he's funny, but I get the messages and I like some of the humor he has in the music, but so, like that, they've got it. They've got the mark. But some, you go to church and you're just like, I don't quite, understand where they're going here, which means when they go there, they will be worked with and they will come back to serve the purpose, because if they're once a teacher, you will be a teacher. Right. Yeah. So this is a beautiful realm.
Absolutely. All right. So let's take our guy into the next one. All right. So who we got in here? Oh my goodness. So cute.
Dante's getting little.
I think he's our last guy. So we'll just imagine that there's more layers for him. So this guy's entering the sphere of Mars, where the warriors of faith are. It says that the souls are holding up a cross, and these are the souls that fought and gave up their lives for the faith, including many heroes from the Crusades. And there's a lot of bright lights again, and a shooting star comes to Dante and says it's his great-great-grandfather who died in the Second Crusade. And Dante asks what his future looks like. And his great-great-grandfather tells him that they can't see exact paths because humans have free will, but he can see what some of the options are, and told him that he will most likely be exiled in his land after he writes this story for humanity. Let's talk about that. The sphere of Mars, the warriors of faith, people who gave up their life for God.
Well, I will now bring Locaeus for this one, because as well, what John did. Yep. So I feel appropriate to bring him. Beatrice is back.
Yeah. And you're a good little Beatrice.
I'm a little Beatrice. Loki. All right. I can't just, if you can all put it together, what he's, yeah.
We got it.
Angels are eunuchs.
He's got a little Beatrice.
Thanks, Loki. I'm glad he had to come through and say that. Not a eunuch. Anyway. Yeah, he makes my life difficult. It'd be hard to know he loves me at any point there, meaning the archangel. So this is like the most divine thing to do. I'm not saying for you all to go. I mean, I'm just, when you love God so much in the name of God, and you sacrifice yourself and whatever in your name and whatever you believe. And I was abused for being a follower of Jesus. I was still, after he died, I was still haunted and I ended up dying for my beliefs. And he puts a special place for you because you put yourself on the line for him, because the love for him was so great, for the great divine, for the Father. You would do anything for the Father, and you're showing the Father that my life is your life. You gave me this life, and I willingly choose to take my life that you gave me so lovingly in your Son's name and in your name. I will do this lovingly. And that's what I did before. And they even told me, do you want to die? And, you know, before it would scare me, the word die, because you don't know, where am I going after die? But after Jesus, it no longer scared me where I was going. I know I was going to a better place. I might not have been able to concept it with the human mind, but Jesus showed me so many different things that were supernatural that the human mind just can't concept. Even what he was saying couldn't concept. His eyes were rainbow. He could never explain his eyes. He couldn't explain the glow he had all the time. And he had a certain aura, a certain scent about him, and you couldn't explain any of these things. So you knew this was supernatural. So you knew there's something more out there than what you saw with your human eyes. And they said, are you willing to die for his name? I said, for the Father's name, I will. Because in the end, that's why Jesus died, was for his Father. And that is why I as well. Many of the disciples, we did die for the name of the Father, and that's what I did. Because I believed in so much in that belief, and I martyred myself, and it was okay. To me, it was all right, because I knew I was going to go somewhere better. And when I went there, you know, it wasn't like Jesus went, high five, thank you, John, for what your service. It was like you were not given any award. You were not giving, it was, your reward was that. That was your reward. And the respect of the Father and the respect of Jesus. And that's why you did it. So, I mean, if you were going to do this, but you're going to do it, and there's a lot of soldiers will do it, but they're doing it. So where am I going to go in heaven when I do it? He's not going to sit there and be like, whoa, John over there decide. He does not. You don't get a special award, a big ceremony. No, you do it for your own soul. You do it for your soul. And it was worth everything to me to do what I did. I gave it up for him. But at first I wouldn't have. For him, you say you're willing to die. Her phone, of course. I love her phone. Okay. I'll have to turn it in. But before I would be like, I don't want to, not for the convictions, but because death scared me. What was there on the other side? But as a human, and is also showing you, death isn't scary. You just level up. But it is God's will to take you. It is his will to take you. So when I say that, I'm not talking about suicide. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about it's his will. And these people, you know, even cancer could be the same thing. You could talk about cancer. You could talk about any illness that you feel has been unfairly given to you, or for a loved one, and they have passed from this. Well, that would also be in God's name. That's all it is, really. It's all passings isn't really in God's name. It is, because that's where you go. But when you've martyred yourself, as John had, and I do say martyr because people are like, "What's a martyr?" Well, basically, that's what they would call that, martyr. But I did it willingly, and that's just the soldiers that he was very here, because they can teach the other souls down, because every level up can teach another level of how to be. Right. So many of the disciples taught their other levels, and that. So
perfect. All right, let's go to the next sphere. We don't have a thing, so let's just pretend. Oh, what?
Oh, look, it's smaller.
Oh, cute little guy. So that little guy is going to the sphere of Jupiter, where the just rulers are, and he sees stars that say, "Love, justice, the rulers of the earth." And the souls of kings and other leaders who followed God are here. These souls unite into the image of an eagle to unite for justice. And then the eagle speaks and says, "All humans know on some level of right and wrong, example of God's will, but nobody will see God's justice. The humans can't comprehend it." And Dante asks, what happens if people don't hear about Jesus? That if Jesus is their salvation, what happens if people don't hear about Jesus? Let's talk about this sphere of Jupiter, where the just rulers are that unite as an eagle.
Well, that's very interesting. This is still okay. Markus said I can go ahead and take this one too. So if you're wondering why I'm still here, he said I could go ahead. But well, if you notice, the eagle represents a lot of the legal. It's a very grand, beautiful bird. So that, to me, justice, you just picture eagle. That just seems the beautiful bald eagle. I mean, they're those magnificent, beautiful creatures you could ever lay your eyes on. And then they're more in front of you.
And they're like solo, like they're out there doing it on their own. And I think that's a big deal too. A lot of birds are in flocks, but the eagle's not in a flock. He's just doing it grand out there, man.
He is the big wingspan, and he's out there. They're absolutely just a sight to just behold in general. So the fact that they would do that. So justice in the heavenly realms, that is when the fair leaders that you have, what would have. And I know a lot of American and around the world would be like, well, I don't see that much around now. And I'm not making anything here, but that is like all the time. That's like any Middle Ages. It doesn't matter. It just seems this is a different 2022 age. This is a different thing. But nope. But I can hear her boys in the background. Like,
got someone about the weedy near our front door. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, because I've got She's talking about justice and the eagle.
It is.
Eagle. We'll talk about. But basically, the justice, it's how the divine sees justice, how the divine, and people ask about the justice. It's just how the divine sees the justice. I'm sorry, her kids are in the background talking, and they're just
it's like ears. Got on a new level. Hey, dude, why don't you come and sit by me? Well, let's take our next little dude. This is the same little dude because there was only 5 little dudes. So this little dude goes to the sphere of Saturn, where the contemplatives are. Souls who lived in abstinence and sound-mindedness. And Dante learns about the corruption circulating in the church, and he learns how the church is drenched in hypocrisy. So let's talk about that. I see that everywhere, every day. Our church is so hypocritical, and the people don't see it. They don't see that they're part of this hypocritical wrong side. But it seems like if they're seeking the truth of God, that they will find it no matter what their path is. So let's talk about this. The sphere of Saturn,
Saturn, whatever it is. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Her kids are still driving me crazy in the back talking.
Saturn. Shut up.
I'm gonna repeat that. I'm sorry. Their energy, because it's coming at me, and I'm like that because it's trying to dominate my energy. And so I know the sphere, but I'm not ready to tell her kids to hush. I swear. They're just kind of they're just like by here and they're talking. Like there's a big conversation. You're on live, so we're just gonna talk. Okay. Could you just kind of rehash on that realm? I apologize.
Year of Saturn has the contemplatives in it. It's souls that lived in abstinence and sound-mindedness. So like I pictured like monks, eunuchs.
Okay.
People really gave up everything for God.
I did. Now that okay. They've left. Thank you. I apologize for that. This is when an energy is coming. It's hard to, But no, I was a monk. I've been a Buddhist, and I was a eunuch. And my lesson on this was, I thought this is a good to tell. I hope Loki doesn't sit there and chime in because he loves this story a lot.
Yeah.
Just to talk about the divine, and you really want something, and to be part of it. Now, mind you, this was before Jesus now, before the divine, okay? And you might think this has nothing to do with absolutely nothing, but in the days, it was customary, if you were a man, to remove your penis. It was, because it would bring sexual thoughts if you had one. I don't know what they did to the women. Of course, there wasn't really women, but sometimes there's a couple, but no, I don't know what the corkscrew, I don't know. Men, I just knew it was removing of that. So I had 2 lives where I went so far up, and they asked, if you've truly devoted, you're one of the best, are you willing to give that up? And I said no, because I'm just imagining the pain involved and the why does that matter if I'm here? And they said they declined me. 2 lives, I declined that. And I was so confused. I'd go back to the divine, I'm like, I've tried to follow your path, and I was declined because of my penis. I go, is that a bad thing to have a penis? I thought it was a good thing as a man to have that. He said, because you're putting it over me. Not literally, but you're putting that, but you're putting that particular in your head. That makes you. That doesn't make you. What makes you is me. Makes you. If you put that before me, then you don't deserve to be there. And that's what they were thinking with me, which was great teaching, because I was like confused. At first, like, why are you trying to take part of my manhood? That makes no sense. The bigger picture was, it was for him. They don't do that nowadays, but they did back then. They did that. So the 3rd time I did it, the 3rd time, it was not happy. But the blessing in that life was amazing. It was amazing. I lived like 300 years with no age. I had no idea it was wonderful bliss. You know how I ended up dying in that life? I had gone to the woods for 100 years, blissfully living, blissfully not even it was paradise. It literally was. The more I was there, it was like going in this paradise. The light was more shine. I was closer to God. And it's like food was like plentiful. It was great in the woods. So I heard the great divine say it was time for me to go back. I did not want to go back, but it was not my will anymore. So I went back, and I had a student, and my student said, I noticed on sorts of movements that things were still there. And I was confused like that, because I'm like, well, they kept that. I was not allowed. And that's okay. It's all right. And I heard, he goes, oh, you're one of the old teachers. How old are you? And I go, I don't know. So he figured out my age would be like 300. As soon as he said, you should be like 300, it just brought to my mind, it's time for me to die now. It concepted, it was time for me to go home. It was weird as a human said and reminded me of the bliss. It brought me back down to leave. But it was my time to leave. I understood. But being a monk, being a Buddhist, it was a beautiful life. And these are the lives where you are teaching. It's a very, I'm not saying it was all blissful. There's very hard times. You are learning this stuff. It's very, very difficult. It is, but you're giving everything up for God. You're giving everything up for the divine, because that is most important. Is to show you to trust God. And it's not like military school. It's not like that. It's hard for you to not hear your voice. Like they would have times we didn't talk. It was just to listen. And we had like weeks on end where we wouldn't talk. And it was, at first you go crazy as a human because you feel you got to hear yourself talk. But in the end, you don't really want to hear that. And you learn telepathy. You learn that you could speak without it. And you learn all of this clairvoyance. And it's beautiful once you put your ego aside. And he taught all that. And it was beautiful once you were so much in bliss. You were bliss here on earth. Believe it or not, you were on earth. I'm not saying go out and do like cut your penis if you're a man. I'm not saying that. But to give to God is the most amazing gift you can do. To give the great divine and give of yourself, even if it's 5-10 minutes a day, going in nature, sitting in nature, looking at nature, however you choose, you are connecting. And however you choose, you don't have to be a monk or a Buddhist, you just connect. And you get to this level of heaven, and you'll notice when you daydream and you are, the lights, and it's beautiful, lights are bright, and you will see it. All you have to do is ask. It will show you. I asked many times and got to see that. So that's what that level is. That level is to teach. That's where I went after I went and do certain things. But that's where I went to be taught and how to teach as that level. I was a teacher. I had to do certain things. But how would I give it up for Jesus? How would I walk his footsteps? How would I teach his word? How would I do that? So actually a level is just teaching you how to achieve it here in his name, to teach other humans an example of what you're doing. Because a human, if you do something and it catches their eye, it's something they want to do, and if like you worship God, you love God, your words are beautiful, and they're saying the most beautiful things on you, and you ask, how do they do that? And you want to follow that. You really want to follow that path. So that's what they teach. And that's why we were taught how to teach, how to speak it, how to encourage others to follow you. I mean, be that orbit of love and bring others with you when you talked. That is why we want this so bad for everybody. We know what it looks like. And you can have heaven here. You just got to know that you can have it here. If you say you can't, it's hell. No, you can have your hell or purgatory, but you can also have heaven. Your own little piece of heaven. It's just all yours. And you don't have to go to heaven to have it. You can be paradise right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So we're taking our little guy back into the next sphere, sphere 8 of the fixed stars. All illumined saints like the Virgin Mary, James, John, the apostles are here. And Dante meets Adam, the first human, and discusses Eden and the reasons for God's anger. So
wow.
and it talked about Jesus and how God created Adam and Jesus, that those were the two creations of God.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's just talking about the beginning of his creation, Adam, and the teachers. So Adam was basically the first, and he was teaching. Then you had, the people that came after him, and you had Jesus and the apostles. It's the ones that started the creation for God. So Adam, he did, and the anger of God don't have anger. So I cannot, he does not have anger. You got to remember, in the days, they would have thought he was angry. God was angry, so he punished me. They didn't understand it's free will. It was your choice, and it was never anger. It was you deciding this, but it's easier to blame a demon than blame yourself. Did Adam blame other things? Yes, he did. After the serpent, after all of, everything. Now, you hear about the tree and the apple, and it's a metaphor. Was there a serpent? Of course. I mean, God can have talking whatever, and he wanted to have the wisdom. He wanted to have the wisdom of God, which was, God, I'm sure, knew this was going, if that's where Adam is probably going to do, and that. So he's probably talking about the anger being cowed east of Eden. But if you think about it, would you want to be in Eden, or would you rather be learning? I mean, if you want to be in Eden, then you might as well just not leave where you're from. You might as well just stay where you're at. You might say that sounds weird and nuts. It's not. I think Adam really did it to be like, so what else is out there? I don't think it was, I want to be God. It's like, what else is out there? Anybody would want to explore what can make me, in this beautiful world, what can I do to bring into this world? What can I do to bring into this world? And I feel that's what Adam was just doing. What can I bring in? I know how it all happened and everything else, but that's my true belief. I really think, but God knew this. God was giving humans a choice. You can take the knowledge yourself or take it from me. But if you took it from him only, then you're not living in a free will. You're living under his will now. And it's going to be a society just based on you have to worship. You have to worship. That's not a way to be. And I don't think that's what he wanted. He wanted to give you a choice at the very beginning. And he knew. He is very smart. He's very logical. He knew exactly where they were going to go with this. So the tree of knowledge, it's a metaphorical tree. And it does exist in Rome. It is a tree. There is, you ask, is there an Eden? Well, of course, what do you think Atlantis would be? Or Shangri-La and all these places. Yeah. That's where that's at. And all the great wisdom is here. So yeah, that's what Adam, and then you have the apostles that all followed Jesus. We were all taught beforehand. We were all taught what we were to do. Did we all follow the plan? No. We did not definitely follow no plan. Like we were taught here. Yes, did we stumble and make mistakes? Well, yes, you're human. You're going to do that. And they expect you to make mistakes. Even Adam made mistakes and things. But as when you, like I said, when you go here, everything makes more sense to you. And you do like learn it here, then you come down and you actually, it's like being in an acting role and we're trying to remember your lines. But in this, you could actually choose what line you get to do. It's not given to you. You choose the line in order to change your vibration where you're going to go. And that's why you got them being multiverses, because you can change your choices. One life could have a billion one. And that's why sometimes it's hard for a psychic to pick up where are you at because of the different decisions. So as well, but that's what that is. It's just talking about creation and talking about when we decided, like Adam decided, hey, this is what, and God was angry. Well, God wasn't angry. God just wanted Adam, are you sure this is what we're going to do? Okay, it's what you're doing. But Eden can be achieved within your mind. Eden is not a place. Eden is within you. You can make it you. That's what Adam knew. Adam knew Eden was in him. He didn't have to have a place that said, hey, this is Eden. Eden was in him. He's very advanced, very smart, and he knew that. So did Eve. They both knew that heaven is here because they were so close to God. Of course, God told them that.
Yeah, and the serpent is symbolically represents wisdom and knowledge.
Absolutely.
So, and that is like, it's like a symbol of we have free choice to choose what we want to learn. It's like what that symbolically represents. Mm-hmm. And Adam chose to not necessarily follow God's will, but to experience what man's will might be. But again, we choose. God does not force it. Again, he doesn't want robots. He doesn't want us blindly following him, not understanding why. He wants us to understand his goodness and his love, and that's special, and that we would want to crave that over whatever we might create ourselves. Better things can happen through us with him. Hush, dude. All right, so let's move our little Beatrice into Sphere 9, the Prima Mobile, the last physical stop before God. And this contains 9 orders of angels surrounding God, all appearing as bright lights and energy. And Beatrice explains that God breathed life into everything. And beyond the sphere, beyond time and space, lies the Empyrean, the mind of God. So let's talk about this Sphere 9, the Prima Mobile, the last physical stop before you reach God.
Well, this is just like right now for many humans. This is your spiritual awakening. This is all of the, before you're going to be, with the great divine. And this is many human star seeds. You are here learning a great lesson. And that's the hardest job of all, is the star seed, being here and learning these lessons. Most people, if you are having a very difficult time, a very difficult life, everything seems more difficult, you're probably at the end and you're probably learning all your karmic debt to make it no more. So this is it for you. If you choose it to be, that's up to you. But most people, I see the older souls, this is it for, so that's where you're at. And this is where the light is beautiful. That is where we're all at, not Loki, but the rest of us are here. He chooses not to, we still respect. So, and not because he's sitting there rolling his eyes out to me right now. But most humans, that is where you're at. You're ready to just go into the great light. You're spiritually awakening. you're like a walking angel in this realm. And that's so this realm, and then lights are beautiful. And Beatrice is, like I said, you know, or as Markus had said, she's representing walking with the divine, with Jesus. And you notice throughout the journey in paradise, actually each of them, you notice there's a guide. There is a guide and Dante was trying to show you, the human, that you don't walk alone. And any part, you don't walk alone in hell, purgatory, especially in heaven. But in heaven, he didn't ask a lot of questions. In heaven, he was amazed at the beauty, the lights coming at him, and he bowed down in respect. So it now would bring a great point over here about where Markus was talking about. It could have been me, Markus, one of us said it. It's been, you know, we're talking about certain, like, suicides. We don't see that. If you ask, well, you're a great divine being, why wouldn't you see that? Typically, they show up dark, they put their head down. It's a symbol of shame. But if any kind of death, like overdose, could show up as shame. So if you died and you feel it was shameful, then you're going to show up black. So we don't necessarily see immediately what it is. Does that mean that the humans aren't skilled, that we're not? That's not, because what it is, the light is so great to them, they bow in reverence because it's so bright and loving that they can't believe before God. They either, if they say it's suicide, they took their life, they cannot come and speak to us because they feel they've disappointed the great divine. So they will not make eye contact because the light here is just so bright and beautiful. And they will not say, they stay in the dark and the shame they feel until we can get it out of them. Or the person has to tell you girls what is going on because they won't say. So typically that's what's going on, is they're in reverence of the light, and they feel the light. You can feel it even in the dark, but how you see them is how they left, and disarray, and we see them and however they were broken. So usually, so that's what it is. We want, so as the girls will not, as we won't either, until, and even Loki he has a hard time with that as well, because he's a great teacher, and they hold him in reverence as well. They will not, say, but that's because of the death. So that is part of the suicide, and it's, but you do go to the light, and they eventually will talk. It's just getting to convince them that it's okay, that we're not judging you, because that's what they've heard in life, and that's not in the Bible. If you do what you do, everybody goes to heaven regardless. You go to heaven. You go with the great divine. But that's wrong. But this is more like star seeds and that. If spiritual awakening right now, you're here in this level. And you say, I'm human, how am I here? You are. You're part of the great divine. You're part of him. So of course you're there. You're always there. You just got to look into your heart. You carry the Christ conscious energy. This is the second coming of Christ right now. And this is where, it's right. And it's always right here in your heart. If you want to know heaven, it's in your heart. It's always been in your heart. You put it there in your heart for a reason. So when your heart beats, it reminds you that's what gives you life. The air gives you life, but your heart, if your heart stops, you stop. There's no heart. There's no, but that's the heart of life. The heart of heaven is Jesus, is God. This is your heart, which is, it seems beautiful, but you're always in paradise. But that's where you're at right now. So you can be human, and you're on this level. Believe it or not, you are here because you are doing one of the hardest things for God. Is you're here experiencing all of this, but trying to help in your way.
Right. And Jesus and the disciples were going against what the church was at the time. And again, all of us as prophets, as messengers, as people that are spiritually awakening, we need to make sure we stay on God's path with God's truth and God's terms. Because we need to show people what God really is, because right now he looks like an ass. The way people are reacting and acting and saying that they are godly, they just kind of make God look like an ass, and people aren't wanting that. And I really hope that people that are spiritually attuned to God, that people just see it and feel it and get it, and they're, well, this is not what they said it was. We need to find our truth.
Well, that's Markus, and what it is, believe it or not, it's to bring you back to truth. He already knows the truth. It's to bring you back to truth. For you to learn the truth, you got to hear a lot of hate. Does it feel right to you to hate? I mean, maybe for you, that is what feels right for you right now. If you are trying to discover God, you will notice you get a lot of feedback on hate, and you just don't know why. So if I'm loving in this, it's a teacher to go back to fight for your convictions. Do you believe in God? Well, then show that you believe in God. Go back to God every time. So no matter what they say, it gets quieter and quieter, and that stuff kind of disappears away from you. It won't be around you because you no longer hear it. You have to God's voice has to speak louder than the hate. And that's why Jesus walked the earth. Jesus was well hated. Nobody liked Jesus. But he taught many people. And yes, he's churches, and you got your churches and everybody. I feel everybody's got well meaning behind it. They got well behind it.
I agree.
But they're just kind of missing the mark, and they try, because I know a lot of great churches, they just kind of miss it here, but they are trying to help. And there's some things going on here. You just want the perfect. There's not going to be a perfect, because that is you to create the perfect for you, because everybody's got a different version of what's perfect for them. Every human is different, and you're going to have your own version of heaven, your own version of perfect. And if it's a church, maybe you're not meant to go to church. Maybe your church is supposed to be outdoors. Maybe maybe you're to create a church because you just can't find one that is dealing with what you're wanting to teach. So that could be a possibility as well. There's lessons in what you're getting. So if you're getting a lot of hate and feedback, then that's just God saying, remember me. Going back to love, just go back to love, quiet that monkey mind and go back to me. But that's really what I heard. So much hate in my day, and it was just deciphering. What did I really want to hear? And I don't want to hear it. So I would tune it out, and I would speak of love. I would repeat verses of the Bible because I didn't want to hear it. So I would repeat, love is unconditional. I am love. I am unconditional. I'm a spark of the divine. And when I would say stuff like that, I am divine. I am God, because you really are. All of you are. Some of that just disappeared. They might have thought I was crazy, and they could put their garbage over here if they feel, but that's their lesson to learn in life. If they want to spout whatever, then they can, that's for them to learn. A lot of people are atheists because God is brought up as the bad guy. I've started this war in God's name. I started in God's name. God would never start a war in his name at all. God is not angry. God is the all-loving being. And so God gets a bad name right now. And I understand it's like a cuss word, and that's not fair because he is all loving. But see, it's just to test the society out. Yeah. And then it's sort of for the people to come forth. Now, when before Jesus, they all hated God. They hated God. Jesus had to come into a round of people that just hated God. Yeah. And he's my father, he's my father. So you can imagine the hate. When I was walking and was preaching the word of God and talking about Jesus, the scrutiny I got was just terrible. I often would go to places and I'd get things thrown at me, and I'd have arguments with people saying there is no God. How can I explain it? And trying to do logic. And the monkeys were the first people, even back then, monkeys. No, you can go about your monkey theory, but that's not true. But it wasn't be worth it to fight. This is like, I believe in my convictions and go. Sometimes there is worth to fight. And when I say fight, it's just with your words and language, but using God's word and God's love and asking his assistance. How do I say this in a way they understand it? Maybe not now, but they will understand it later at some other point, because maybe they're just not where you're at vibrationally as well. So right now, I think the world is off vibrationally. I think a lot of people are spiritually awakened, a lot of people are not. So you got a mix, and you got a lot of this going at each other, and it's hate. And so when you type something on Facebook, for example, I see it all the time on Facebook, hate. I'm just like, you're just putting that back into yourself. It's like poison. You're just taking poison every single time, and you're feeding this poison to everybody else. Like, here, you have a dose of this arsenic. You have a dose of this arsenic. The world don't need that. The world just needs love right now. Am I saying close your eyes to the issues? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying close your eyes, but keep an open mind. Yeah. It really just keep an open mind, because what hate you put out comes back at you. And if you put out love, you're going to get more of that. I like to see more posts about love, about that, versus looking at all the hate. I get, honestly, she's getting tired of it as well. She's like, she don't even go on anymore, because it's all about what's going on in the world and that. And she just said, well, why can't we focus on, she said, I understand this, and this all needs to be addressed. I get that, but so, and I didn't mean to go on a spat about it. It's just an aggravation I've got, but I wanted to point it out.
I've been angry and my posts have been angry lately.
But-
But
But
it's
you're allowed though.
my personal post. I don't want to post
But-
it on our group.
But see, Angela, but you're speaking your heart.
Yes.
It's okay to speak your heart. I'm not saying you can always have to have rainbows and sunshine.
But it is rough because a lot of us are putting our pain out there for others to understand it. And that doesn't make you feel good either. It's just a lot of stuff on Facebook that just doesn't make us feel good right now. And we do need a little bit more feel good. Maybe I'll start doing a channeled message again and try to make us feel better.
Do that as you want to do that, but you need to express yourself. I'm not saying hold it all in and never express it. I'm not saying just take it all in and don't fight. I'm not saying any of that.
Downer lately. I've been a little angry. So I'm working on it though.
That's all right. It's been a lot of anger on this end, as you saw yesterday. So that was a bunch of fun. So
It was fun. All right.
not.
So well, we did it. That was the whole thing, right? I think that was all of it. The last layer is like some circles, and they say that the circles is God, and that's the Empyrean, where everybody's just living in bliss.
Right. And everybody's kind of in the beautiful light. So I wanted to, since Loki's not in the paradise, I wanted him to describe for people, and I thought this is very important too. What if you feel like you're not in a paradise, that you want to get to a paradise? So what would that mean for you to be there? So I wanted to get Loki's perspective, because I feel his perspective is, he said something beautiful yesterday, believe it or not, he said something actually very beautiful. And it got me, so I thought it'd be kind of important to bring, and maybe Cosmo as well, to say what his version of paradise, because he does follow Loki. And we'll, like I said, we'll try, Cosmo just goes on. You might have to back him up a bit, but I'll bring Loki and let him talk about what he would feel like a paradise.
Perfect.
This is Loki.
Hi, Loki.
Yeah, we're wearing white.
Yeah, and blue jean, dude.
Yeah, because you said you look like you're naked there, and I'm like, it's pretty appropriate for Markus. So
Naked.
but so you're talking about paradise. This is for those of folks out there that I can associate. You're in your dark cave and you go, I don't even know how to look for paradise. There is no way I know where it's at. I can't even concept a paradise. And I had a realization, a lot of aggravation going on in the realm. As any beings, we're allowed to have our own aggravations. I always thought I was lived like a shadow, and I'm a mean, because I have this persona about me. I also got a gator. I like the gator too. Anyway. When I was in Atlantis, I didn't have the same experience as Rashik. Didn't have, even though we didn't have the same. I won't get into detail, but did not have the same upbringing as Rashik did. Even though we're the same, I had no paradise. I had no nothing. He lived in a beautiful, I lived with the monsters and the demons, by the way. And no surprise here, all this beauty and sarcasm didn't come from somewhere. It's so I was out there entertaining all the monsters, You heard this one today? Look at your brother beating you up again. Look what he did to my head, my face. That's great. But anyway, I will throw you down there, Rashik, a little bit. Now, so I had no idea what paradise was, what it was. I just knew abuse, hate thrown at me. I had no idea. Then I saw the priestess. That was the first time that I saw my paradise. Why does Lady Hawk bother me so bad? You might ask, why would that bother like your sister and you so bad and me? So a lot of what your life has been repeating what I had gone through, to repeat. So I could see it firsthand what was going on. My priestess was so close to me that it was a thing. But the first thing I saw in love was her eyes. She did not look at Rashik first. She saw me first, which is forbidden, but she did not care. It's forbidden, but she looked at my eyes. That's the first time I saw love. And every time I was lost, or every time I needed a paradise, that's what I looked at, her eyes. That was my paradise. That brought me to love me again, to all of that. I never loved myself. I hated everything about me, but through the love of somebody else, my guide, my love, That is what made me who I am today. Her eyes is what caught me. That's why the lady hawk, when the eyes meet, and that's what reminded me of her all over again, because that was my paradise. So I hold on to that. When I am in a funk and I'm in a bad mood, I hold on to my heart. That's my paradise. I always ask, why do I defend the priestess? That's my paradise. Everybody's got that. And your paradise can just be yourself, loving yourself. Yeah, but that was my paradise. But then all the monstrous stuff I'd been put through, that was it. And through her loving me, I learned to be more. So that is what I wanted to go ahead and bring to the, yeah. Hi, Cleo.
That's perfect. I'm glad that you shared all that with us, because you're right. Everybody's got something. We all have something. God gave you something.
Yes, I was excited that I was given something. So, well, I guess it's a good time to bring Cosmo out since you got Cleo.
I try to make this one be good for a couple minutes.
Okay. Oh, this is making me jealous, Angie.
You want to
Cosmo?
Spoiled, man.
So will you ask what my paradise is?
Oh, what's your paradise? Is it this?
Online what my paradise is. They would edit it and you guys would be not ever allowed to be aired. So my paradise is just helping everybody. And on a serious note, it's helping everybody. I felt like a worthless piece of whatever. Paradise was just, that was my paradise, or the job in the biz. There you go. Or saying my name was, something totally almost slipped. I almost slipped that out. Yeah, so I had to watch that one. I was just like, whoa, take that out. But that was my paradise. So
yeah.
But yes, but no, the paradise really is learning from great teachers, as as them. They're paying me to say this, so I'm kind of sponsoring them right now. So
yeah, who you sponsoring?
Paul Lazarus.
Oh, yeah.
They're paying me to say this. I love all of Lazarus, especially Loki. He's my favorite.
What a lovely paid advertisement.
It was, yeah, but they're not gonna give me nothing for that, except Pop's just might kick my ass today.
Oh yeah.
So I guess I'll bring. Who am I bringing out? Oh, okay. I guess I'm bringing Markus. Okay.
Probably, because it's like 1:30.
Oh yeah, you probably need all pee.
Yeah. You say that again.
Oh, this is Markus. I was hoping we weren't going to go to the 1:30 amendment to get on that.
Yeah, we did. Oops, we did.
I thought we were. Yeah, I was trying. We're all trying to make it short, but I guess
we got a lot to say. Whoa, we got a lot to say. Yeah. I'm getting texted over here. And what's going on? Oh my gosh. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, I got being texted over here with something. I think I got a child emergency. All right.
Well, we'll just go ahead and we'll wrap it up. I'm glad everybody was here to listen to Paradise. I hope everybody picked up something. The next teaching live, we're going to take all 3 of the teachings and we're all going to just the importance of each and put a different teacher on each. This one here on Paradise, it just felt appropriate to put to everybody because everybody's a version of Paradise. So I didn't feel like I should be the only one to be Beatrice. I want them all to be Beatrice. That way they can't just call me Beatrice. Right. All Beatrice.
Beatrice.
Even Cosmo was Beatrice.
Oh, man. What a lovely Beatrice.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
it's all right. Well, we'll just go ahead.
Okay.
Everybody have a wonderful day, week, whatever you're at. And we will see you Thursday on Thursday's live. And we hope everybody has a beautiful, wonderful day, night, wherever you're at. And when you're watching this, you are unconditionally loved. You are loved, and know that you are a spark of the divine. So be that spark for everybody else. You are that heart. You are that love. Let's remember that you are love, and let's spread love wherever we go. Let's just spread love and be and smile today. It's a good look for everybody.
And we love y'all, and we will see you in our next video. Right, Miss Cleo? Bye.